Morning, dear friends on Facebook and YouTube. Glad to have you here this morning. Good morning, dear friends. We survived another night. As my brother-in-law in Chilliwack, British Columbia would say, well, at least this morning I woke up on the right side of the grass. It's funny, the first 150 times. But it's true, isn't it? We're alive this morning. I'm very pleased. Yesterday, the Facebook and YouTube broadcasts went out fine, and I think it's working fine today. Greetings. So there you are, sitting in your living rooms and lofts and couches. And how extraordinary that we get to meet like this regularly. I cheated last night. I started going to bed at 8:30 and was in bed by 9. Makes me full of much more energy in the morning when I actually go to bed at a really good time. Watch out, world. All right, here we go. Oh, incidentally, I'm Robert Beatty. I'm coming to you from Beaverton, Oregon, in my beautiful little broadcast house, the Buddha Broadcasting Network. And this is a broadcast of the Portland Insight Meditation Community, PIMC, portlandinsight.org. And there's something happening through PIMC every night of the week except Saturday, and other things as well. So please do check out the website. So here's a poem that came through me a few weeks ago on the broadcast, maybe a couple of months, but it just seemed so perfect for this morning. I'm going to return to it. It's Wendell Berry, a poem written in 1979. I go among trees and sit still. All my stirring becomes quiet around me like circles on water. My tasks lie in their places where I left them, asleep like cattle. Then what is afraid of me comes and lives a while in my sight. What it fears in me leaves me, and the fear of me leaves it. It sings, and I hear its song. Then what I am afraid of comes. I live for a while in its sight. What I fear in it leaves it. And the fear of it leaves me. It sings, and I hear its song. After days of labor, mute in my consternation, I hear my song at last. And I sing it. As we sing, the day turns, the trees move. I go among trees and sit still. All my stirring becomes quiet around me like circles on water. My tasks lie in their places where I left them, asleep like cattle. Then what is afraid of me comes and lives a while in my sight. What it fears in me leaves me, and the fear of me leaves it. It sings, and I hear its song. Then what I am afraid of comes. I live for a while in its sight. What I fear in it leaves it, and the fear of it leaves me. It sings, and I hear its song. After days of labor, Mute in my consternation, I hear my song at last, and I sing it. As we sing, the day turns, and the trees move. I hear my song at last, and I sing it. As we sing, the day turns, the trees move. We live in a world which is by its very structure impermanent, contingent, unstable. And so, for 2,600 years, human beings have reflected upon, practiced with, realized to be true and helpful, refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, not as a religious practice, as a spiritual practice. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya. So why not? Why not really take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha? You may have, as I do, some significant encounters awaiting you today. No way to tell how they'll come out. One strategy, one common experience in my part is be tense, worry about what should I say, how should I be, etc., etc. Another is to, as they say in AA, give it over, give it up. Take refuge in the way things actually are, in the Dharma, and approach it with awakeness and awareness, with the Buddha. And in the company of our dear friends on the path. And so we have this opportunity now to sit still. I go among trees and sit still, and all my stirring becomes quiet around me like circles on water. The Buddha said, go to a quiet place. Sit comfortably upright. Relinquishing grief and remorse about the past and worry about the future. Placing mindfulness before one. And noticing, abiding in breathing and out breathing. Becoming interested in the details of breathing, the beginning, the moment it starts, the middle, the ending. Of course, the body is the greater container for the breath. And we might practice by being aware of the life in the entire body. Everywhere awareness touches, awakens, in the body there's life, sensations. This could be one of those times when the body is calm, when the mind is calm, when there's just a lot of ease. Or it could be one of those times when there's a lot of thinking, maybe some pressure in thinking, some hurried thoughts, some worry or anxiety. In either instance, our task is simply to notice. To notice and to use the strategy of abiding in rising and falling. But don't create enemies of thought. What I am afraid of comes, and I abide with it, and it settles down. It becomes not a problem. Life is inherently unpredictable. Except for the fact that everything changes. All things flow about and intermingle. There are periods of relative stability. There are periods, moments, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, even years, where some things stay relatively the same, predictable. And then there's change. We take refuge in the Buddha, in that which is awake and can observe these changing phenomena. With this truth in mind, there is no predicting what will come up into the present anytime we sit down to meditate, or any moment of our lives. So we allow ourselves to be surprised, to be curious, to be really curious. When we start practicing more than 30 minutes a day, or particularly true with more than that, old conditionings, old traumas, old blessings begin to reveal themselves more and more. This is the unbinding, the unwinding. And it's not something we have to do. In fact, doing stops it. It's something that we get to allow, to ride with, to see how it. There's something I am afraid of comes, and I live a while in its sight, and then it stops being frightening. I have a few more degrees of freedom to live in. More compassion and love. Each breath is its own lifetime. It appears out of nowhere. It requires no thought, no cognition at all. It's just breathing. Exactly as the sun rises in the morning. The breath rises now. Come home with bare attention. No interpretation, no analysis, no evaluation. It's just this moment of life as breath. The chest and abdomen rise to fullness. The beginning of the breath is long gone, ancient history by the time fullness occurs. And then the decline occurs and then vanishing. If you're using the sensations at the nose tip for your home base, exactly the same, beginning, a lifetime, vanishing. We sit right here at the still point, at the center of everything. What a sweet relief to have nowhere to get to, nothing to achieve, no improvements to be made. No deficit of love to try to fill in. No one to impress. Nothing to defend. Just this right now. And let us move toward ending this practice this morning with the great love mantra. The powerful words, I love you, with your name at the end. And just let them float in and out over and over again. If it's difficult, notice the difficulty. If it's easy, dive in more deeply. At last, there is someone who can actually love you as you are. Coming home to the home base of I love you. Of course, this is a practice based in I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am in each moment. And also when I'm hurting, no matter how I'm hurting, I aspire to hold myself in sweet, loving, gentle compassion. And we could form the aspiration or intention to live our way through this day with this mantra going in the background or the foreground. To pause before turning the ignition key. A moment of gratitude and I love you with your name at the end. And similarly, in your encounters with others, the more fully developed is this love of oneself, the more simple it is and really automatic to be loving toward them. It doesn't mean we don't have boundaries. It doesn't mean we give everything away. It doesn't mean we ever let someone back into our life. What it does mean is that we undo the knots in the heart, rooted in I love you with your name at the end. And now really landing in the body, this amazing living form. Feel how it's heavy, it's dense. It moves, it breathes. It's warm and cool. And bringing awareness into the region of the face and the eyes. And this doesn't need to be the only time of the day that you notice eyes opening and the work that it takes to do that. You can do it many times a day, in just a second or so. And letting the eyes open, and in this instance, mind fall upon a collection of faces in little postage stamps. Seeing. And seeing with the eyes of blessing. It's very easy to fall into seeing with the eyes of comparison or critique. It's a very popular thing in online culture at this point. Who can be smartest, fastest, and say the meanest thing? As opposed to recognizing these precious, one-of-a-kind beings as your compatriots, as you. changes it for me. A story just came to mind. My little dog is restless. I don't know if you can hear his claws on the floor in here. You can. I'll make this as short as I can. Some years ago, I was coming home from a retreat in Canada, I think the 12-day retreat, and my baggage was delayed. And I got to know the young woman who was doing the baggage duty. And I was with her a couple hours, off and on. And she said at one point, you know, I've never, in my several years doing this, I've never had anyone who wasn't upset at all about their bag being lost. And I said, well, I presume it's going to show up. And there's no big deal. And we talked on further. And then it occurred to me, I had done on that retreat a lot of reflections on death. And it was true that I was practicing remembering this person's going to die. And of course that changes everything. If you do it on the screen right now, pick a person and remember, look at this person, they're going to die. Doesn't it change the relationship with them? It's like, whoa. This is an apparition. This is an incredible flower that appeared overnight. Anyway, I leaned over and said to her, actually, I have a secret practice that I do that changes everything. It really helps with patience. You want to know? And she said, yes. I said, it's really weird. And she said, I want to hear it. So I leaned over and said quietly, and it was full of people getting their bags. And I said, everyone here is going to die. And she paused and she looked at me and said, well, that does change everything. And I told this story once when Vic was with us. And he said, well, that's a story that you wouldn't want to say if you were black or brown in this culture. It hadn't occurred to me. But it's really true, isn't it? When we look at people and reflect, this person is here for a little while. And they have loved ones, and it's temporary. So then the heart melts. It's like, oh, right. So the sun is up. It's so powerful and beautiful. If I lean back, I can protect my eyes. So a moment on generosity, on opening, on freeing the heart from its constrictions. And you probably received a fundraising letter from PIMC. If you didn't, I think you can find it on the homepage. I'm not sure. There's so much happening. Anyway, we're doing perhaps our once annual fundraising to close a $30,000 gap in the budget that was planned to do this way. And Gregory gave me some statistics yesterday that I immediately forgot. But people, you are responding, and people are becoming monthly donors and increasing their amount. And so, if this is important to you, if PIMC and these broadcasts are helpful, then I encourage you to support them and to support yourself. And to support anyone else who comes along following us. Beyond that, there's lots of classes happening in the fall. My Eightfold Path class, and Doyle's NVC, Nonviolent Communication, and Doug's Basics of Mindfulness. And Kate is teaching every Friday night, and starting on the something of September, Kendall will be teaching twice a month. So I think that's all I want to say about announcements. And now you. What questions do you have? What What reports do you have from COVID-19 land? How's your fear level? If you wish to speak, simply unmute and the magic of broadcasting will be before you. Those of you on Facebook and YouTube, if you'd like to participate in the conversation, please go to portlandinsight.org and find the Zoom link, and then you can be part of the very quiet conversation. There.
Robert, this is Denise.
Hello, Denise. Hi.
Hello.
Fancy meeting you here.
And anxiety. Right? I would say my fear and anxiety is really high, to the point that I almost can't breathe.
This morning?
For 2 months.
Oh.
And yeah, sometimes I can let it go. I can, my stomach relaxes and I can breathe again. But I'm headed on retreat on Sunday for 3 days, and I was hoping that maybe you could direct me towards something that I could refocus when I recognize that the fear is so intense.
You're going on a retreat on Sunday for how long?
3 nights.
3 nights. And it's residential?
I'm going to Brighton by myself.
Oh, I see. Oh, how lovely. So, tell me again your question. My connection with you is a little flimsy.
Yeah, my connection is bad. I have fear. I need something to refocus when it gets out of control.
You know, I had an interesting thought came to mind. The Buddha suggested that for anxiety, go be in nature, and you certainly are going to be in beautiful nature down at Brighton Bush. Do you know the Spotted Owl Trail? It goes up through the Emerald Forest. Somewhere in there, there's some big trees that are really suitable for hugging and for sitting among. I used to go after 15 years of going to Ruth's retreats, I would join her and the group for the morning, and then in the afternoon, after lunch, I would go about a mile up the trail and I'd find one of those. I found a big tree that I really grew to like, and I sat there among the giants. And that was very helpful. It just calmed me down a bunch. Other things to do are, do you ever try cardiovascular exercise when you're feeling really anxious? If you walk or run or do something where you have to breathe hard for 10 minutes, you may discover that you use up the excitatory chemistry that's part of being anxious and find yourself in parasympathetic relaxation, that your nervous system will let down. Another classic thing to do is in your meditation, if too much is coming up and there's too much flow, then put a lid on it, suppress somewhat, and use a mantra like, may I be happy, may all beings be happy. Do you have a mala? Do you have beads? Take your beads with you, and it's, may I be happy, may all beings be happy, bead. May I be happy, may all beings be happy, bead. And do that with somewhat diligently for 45 minutes or an hour. And of course you're going down there, and I presume the weather's going to be gorgeous. Just be outside a lot. Be down at the river a lot. And don't try to achieve anything. I know. Why don't you make this a retreat that's all about relaxation? Right? Don't try to get to some big breakthrough or something. Just, I'm here. I can sit in the woods. I can go for walks. I can do some exercise. And just really take care of yourself by being at ease. And I'll post this poem. I think this poem might be a good one to take with you. I'll put it on the connections list and also on my blog on my website. Any new ideas in there? Things you can incorporate, perhaps? Oh, there's another thing to try. You might have you ever been to the Buddha's Playhouse at Brighton Bush? At the end of row A, there's a cute little. It's like a little cave. A friend of mine, Jamshid, who's buried right there at the front gate. If you go out the doors of the registration place and go straight, there's a grave there with his stone and everything. He was an incredible man, very warm-hearted Sufi, and he spent a year, I think, in there, or 6. It was built for him to do a retreat. It was like, pretty small space to hang out for that long. But it's a lovely place, and you might also hang out in there and reflect upon what's happened in that space, the amount of love and connection and beauty that's happened there. You might have a meeting with Jamshid, my dear friend. Speaking metaphorically, of course. Okay. Have a lovely retreat. Oh, also, maybe take a book of poetry. Don't be harsh. Be very gentle with yourself.
Robert, this is Dave.
Hello, Dave.
You really said something wonderful a few minutes ago. How important cardiovascular exercise is. It's so important to have the wisdom to set down the mouse, walk away from the screen, and go take a walk around the block. That's all it takes sometimes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a great bumper sticker. Set down the mouse, take a walk.
Robert, you're so cute.
Well, thank you. Walk away from your trackpad. Hello, Pam. Hello, Pam. Robert to Pam. Come in, please.
Oh, well, sorry about that.
Sorry about what? Oh.
Hi, Robert.
Hey, Mish.
Hi. I want to ask everyone to think about kids for a bit. The school's about to start again. I have a son going into 6th grade and a daughter going into 9th grade, and they're both going into new schools, and they don't get to go meet their new friends.
That's rough.
And it's also weird. So, just to think about.
Lost your sound. I had your sound and then it went mute. Can you hear her, Dave? Oh, I wonder. Something happened at my end. Please bear with me a second. I'll see if I can. Preferences. Why is there no sound? Oh, there it is again, I think.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay. Thanks, Mish.
Yeah.
You folks can't see the paint job around me, but it's a beautifully done piece of niche work, and I really appreciate it.
Well,
Tim, hello.
good morning. When you were talking about, or we were talking about fear, I remember something that my brother, one of my brothers, used to do when we were kids, and he's a strange guy. But his cure for nightmares was that he would, as soon as it started getting scary, he would in his nightmare conjure up a rattlesnake which would bite him and he would die. And then he didn't have to worry about it anymore. He'd go on with the dream and not be afraid. Because he was already dead.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, this is a very strange man, and he was a strange kid, but apparently he did lose a dream each other naturally, but that was his trick. And it worked for him, and he did it a long time.
Huh.
But anyhow, that kind of reminded me of the cup's already broken thing. You know, a practice I use sometimes when I'm afraid for myself is to say, I'm already dead. So, I mean, it's kind of harsh maybe, but it's kind of useful. It's thought.
It's very central to the Buddha's teachings. This profound reflection on death, which puts everything in perspective. Yeah. Not morose, not, oh, well, gosh, I'm going to die, therefore it's more like, well, I'm only here for a little while in the sun, then why take this so seriously? Why be so caught in my despair or fear or anger? It's an interesting paradox, this whole thing. Thanks, Tim. I just had an idea. Tim, would you consider Monday, which would be our next gathering of this group, would you consider at the end of meditation giving us a 5-minute musical rendition of one of your pieces? Okay? You come. You can spend the whole weekend practicing.
Sure.
But one of those nice ones you sent me that I've lost track of course. But
Okay.
yeah,
Sure.
good,
I can do that.
lovely. So we'll just fade into that. If you're ready, I'll end the meditation with Tim. You're on, and we'll have a musical interlude for 5 minutes or so.
That music, that's a little.
Yeah. Great.
Sure.
Thank you. Hey Denise, I just had another idea. Take some music with you on your phone, and dance for half an hour a day. On my residential retreats, we get up in the morning, we sit for 45 minutes, and then we dance for 45 minutes every day. And I play really intense. Everything from very quiet, beautiful, melodic Brahms to some pretty hard driving rock and roll, to lots of things. I have fun doing it, and the dancing loosens everything up, not only physically, but sometimes depression will just break open doing dancing, because there's the cardiovascular piece again too. Let's escape from the fantasy that meditation is best done sitting cross-legged. That's important and powerful, but let's not think that's it. It is being awake. (8:01). Time moving on, so to speak. Our experience is something that doesn't exist is moving on. Funny, weird.
Good morning, Robert. This is Paula Keeney and Breyer.
Hello, Palakini.
Hi. Beautiful meditation today. Thank you. And I love the idea of dancing. Well, when you talked about what is our fear level, I guess I would have to say at this moment it is medium. And I find myself holding my breath. Gracie should be in surgery now, my little 2-year-old granddaughter.
Wow, yes.
It was supposed to start early, but it was delayed. I think they're just taking their time to be super careful.
Good.
Yes. And just so glad to be practicing mindfulness and love with a larger community. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, perhaps it's time to move on. Anybody sitting with something that you'd like to share and that you're editing yourself? perhaps I should remind us, the thing you think is really a stupid thing to share because it's trivial and boring is often the thing that shakes up somebody else in the group, and they've been waiting for someone to put words to that so they can finally recognize it happening. So please be bold if you wish. All right. Let's sing our way out of here. Unmuting all. Here we go. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We are so harmonious. It's the PIMC Tabernacle Choir in 72 parts. How do they do those things over the internet where people all cooperate somehow? And it's amazing. Anyway, thank you for being here. It's I feel always healed and more spacious with being with you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
Safe journeys, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
And no matter what they say, it still makes sense to use a mask and wash your hands. The beast is still prowling around out there.
Yes.
So, happy day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a nice time at Brightonbush, Denise. I'm a little jealous.
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, it's going to be different, but it'll be great.
It'll be wonderful. Bye-bye. Hello, Buddha. You want to go up? Oh. Thank you for joining us, dear friends on Facebook and YouTube.